there.
Facebook people.
Instagram,
Right.
Twitter,
Twitter.
all of you guys on social media.
What's another thing? Snapchat and all that stuff. Hey, this is another episode of Chatting with the Belchers.
Yes, we haven't been with you guys in a while. It's probably
Yes.
been, I don't know, we haven't chatted with the Belchers since last year.
Well, let's start with a kiss.
Mwah.
Love you.
So anyway, we're going to get started here, and our topic, let me introduce myself first, like you don't know. I am the queen. Y'all see my crown? I am the queen.
I belong to her. I'm just a Denison Belcher, married to my beautiful bride, Earlean Cookie Queen Mac Belcher. Let's see, how many years have been now?
Over 39.
Wow. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, isn't that something? Hey, but it's been a long, good journey.
Absolutely.
Okay? You know, sometimes not so good. But for the most part, I would say the last few years it's been getting better.
Well, it's been getting better because I'm getting better. And, well, y'all can't see my shirt. But I'll tell y'all what it says. I listen to my wife sometimes. And anywho, Queen of my heart and other parts.
The topic today is...
There you go. How do you deal with difficult people? And we will give you guys some of our takes on what we have found that works or is working for us. And if you can glean anything from what we're saying, please use it. It's free. But if you have other ideas or whatever, some of you chime in or whatever, if you write us a note or something that you guys want to talk about, we'll try to address it. But we only want to take maybe 30, 40 minutes at the most of your time this afternoon. So
Yeah, because we're all here to learn. We don't have the answers, all the answers to this. We're only going to share with you what works for us when it comes to how to deal with difficult people. Now, those people could be family, friends, co-workers, acquaintances, whoever that's in your life that's hard to deal with. Now, I haven't always been good at this, but I'm getting better. When I start looking in the mirror and learning about who I was and my value and my love that I like to share and my goodness, I started realizing that I do not deserve to be treated bad. I don't deserve it because I don't treat others bad. Now, not to say that I haven't throughout my lifetime, but I don't think I've ever treated someone bad and went out of my way to treat them bad intentionally. So.
because what my beautiful bride is saying, again, something that works for her. I will echo, I will piggyback, and I am still learning, okay? I'm a work in progress. Point I'm making, too, is I have to be okay with me, and that makes me have to start looking at my own life, and when it comes to dealing with difficult people, I have to understand something. Is it something I'm saying? Is it something I'm doing? To also add to the difficulties. But when I'm more honest with myself, and I can be honest with myself, with my good points and my not so good points, it helps me to understand more of where the other person is coming from. I think it's called something like empathetic compassion, but none of that is possible until I start dealing with my own shortcomings.
Because what we have to do is, and I'm learning this, it's taken me years, rather than blame others, oh, it's his fault that my life isn't turning out okay. I have to look in the mirror, and I also, when we have our little, which is very seldom, but every now and then we run into a wall with each other, I have to say, what is my part in this? What is my part in this? And another thing that I've learned is that sometimes I will blame others for what I am. Like I'll criticize.
Oh, that's heavy
I'll
right
criticize
there.
and judge others for what I am. I do some of the same things that others do that I don't like. And I had to step back and say, now, wait a minute, Sister Queen. You've done some of those same things. How you judging so-and-so and so-and-so about things that I've done? That's the same as what they're doing right now. But I'm learning.
That's what it's about. She just said something kind of sugarcoating when she and I, how did you put that?
Run up against a wall.
Yeah, a wall. Okay, let's tell it like it really is. Sometimes when she can't stand my ass, okay? Sometimes I've done something so far off the charts to her way of thinking that, hey, and what it causes within our relationship, you start to doubt yourself. Of course, you're mad at the other person for what you think they've done or they're doing things to disrupt the harmony of your family. But again, what's really going on? I really believe this. You're never really mad at what you say you're mad at. It's just the proverbial last straw that broke the camel's back, and you can't take it anymore. And my beautiful bride, and I recite this in some of my meetings, okay? My wife got to a point in our relationship where she said to herself, I'm not going to allow him to treat me this way anymore. Bad gambling problem, but I had more than gambling problems. I had people problems. I had relationship problems, okay?
Because my husband used to threaten me back in the early stages of our marriage. He used to say, don't ever tell me that you don't want to be with me no more because I'm out of here. So it was like holding me hostage because when things was really difficult, I'm like, I can't say it unless I mean it because this is my second marriage and I don't want him to walk out that door. Now everybody looking at the queen like, what's wrong with the queen? She can't keep a man. So I never said it until one day in 1986, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of his ass. And I went to him and I said, if you don't go to a support group for gambling, your shit is packed in the basement. He looked at me like, what the fuck? What is this woman saying? Well, I had got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And only those that know what I'm talking about, because when we got together over 39 years of marriage, when we came into our relationship, and I tell this shit on stage, I might put it in a comedic fashion, but I get serious on stage too. It took me 17 years to fall in love with this handsome, beautiful man here because we came into our relationship with too much baggage. Addictions, in-laws, outlaws, all up in our mix. And everybody was calling the shots in our relationship except us. Blended family. He had children by our first marriage. I had a child by our first marriage. Trying to congeal that and then trying to find out who we were. It was too damn much. And it took me 17 years to fall in love with this handsome man.
Love is powerful, but love is not going to change the other person. Because you have no control over another adult human being in this world. You might see a person destroying themselves through gambling compulsively, through alcoholism, through drugs, running in the streets, and you think that your love is going to change that other person, or can't they see what they're doing to themselves or to our relationship? Let me say this to you. No.
Because some people are afraid to speak up. Now, that's whether it's with a spouse, a partner, friends. You're afraid to speak up because my fear of speaking up to people that were difficult in my life, I had the fear of losing them, losing the relationship, losing my marriage, losing a friendship. So I took a lot of shit. I took things. I would give people chances over and over and over and over again to insult me. And I was afraid to speak up because, oh my God, I'm going to lose that relationship if I say, you know what? I will not allow you to treat me like that anymore. I don't deserve to be insulted. I don't deserve to be cussed at and cussed out. I don't treat people like that. I think I've only cussed out 2 people in my 69 plus years of life. One was a man used to get on me all the time about my weight. This was when I was 55 pounds bigger. He and his wife was sitting over there looking like 2-ton Tussie. And he was always on me about my weight. Well, he was speaking to his wife through me. I cussed his ass out. That's one. When my sister passed away 23 years ago this month, my only sister, I had one of them church members come over to the house, her house, sitting at the table, talking and carrying on about my sister lying and signifying and shit. And she looked at me out the clear blue. Now, 6, 7 of us at the table. She looked at me and say, "Queen, when you gonna give your heart to the Lord?" People that know me now know you don't say that to the queen. Because number one, she didn't know my heart. And to pick me out of the crowd, I cussed her ass out. That's about the only time that I took up for myself, twice in my life. Other than, I've started taking up for myself with my husband down through the years. But I used to show people how to treat me by not speaking up when they were difficult. And that is our topic today. How do you deal with difficult people in your life? Now, if you guys have suggestion out there, please chime in, because we want to know, because we're here to learn. We're not here to just teach you guys how to do something. We need input too, because we still have difficult people in our lives.
Now, let me say this to you, okay? I'm listening to my beautiful bride. I really am.
He's a good listener.
It took me a long time. And as a very dear friend of mine in my 12-step recovery group, he would say things like, you have to learn to listen, but you have to listen to learn. And since I just listened to my dear bride speak about the 2 difficult people that she dealt with at that time, okay, I'll tell you what's coming through to me. For those 2 people, she decided the way she was going to deal with those 2 difficult people was to cuss them out. Okay?
That's the only thing I could do.
All right. Now, this guy here, when I would have some difficult people in my life, I would run away. I wouldn't breach the subject. I didn't have the courage to cuss them out. I didn't have the courage to tell them how I felt. Because, again, men, we usually hold our feelings and emotions inside. We think we're macho and all of this business. We suffer in silence so much that it can be very detrimental to our well-being. Public service announcement: high blood pressure, hypertension, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, we're going to throw this in there too.
Slip it in there right quick, meaning this: unresolved issues will cause stress in your life. Stress can make you sick, a la high blood pressure. I don't understand exactly what happened to the late, great John Singleton, but I understand that one of the things that he suffered from was high blood pressure. I don't know the stressors in his life, but again, just surmising. You may want to take better care of yourself, because if you want to be around for your partner, whatever that is in your relationship, if you want to be around, if you're fortunate enough to have children who are adults, and you're fortunate to have grandchildren like we both have, okay, you want to be around for them. Now, again, they're all not going to love you. They're all not going to pump you up or give you praise or whatever. But, okay, well, wife, she'll address that in a minute. Somebody just wrote a comment. Where was I? Okay. Some people who you're related to, they're not going to support you in every endeavor. You're going to have differences with them. How do you resolve those issues? She decided to cuss a couple people out, okay? I decided to run away. That was then. Now, I'm ready to face my fears. I'm ready to face people who disagree with me without being disagreeable. Now, also, I got to understand something, okay? And that is this. If the person who you have difficulty with is dealing with an addiction, you better go get some help for yourself. And what I had to do with a person who is very close to me, who I know is very sick in their addiction. I had to go get some help from myself so I can have an honest conversation with that person if and when they come in or out of my life. It ain't easy, y'all. It ain't easy, but I'll tell you what, it's worth it. So anyway, my honey wanted to address something.
And Christy tells Xander, no, we're not in Paris. That's just a backdrop back here in the back that we have hanging there. He wanted to know we were in Paris.
Wow, that's great. Xander is our grandson, one of our grandsons, okay?
Yes, yes.
And he's a wonderful young man and so much potential.
Now, I have another question, and I'll pose this to everybody. How do you deal with adult bullies?
Wow.
Now, a lot of times in schools, they'll talk about bullies to children, dealing with bullies, children dealing with bullies. But how do adults deal with adult bullies?
Wow. Now, see, when she did that right there, I immediately, God willing, the creek don't rise, I'll be 73 in September.
Looks good for 73, too.
Well, my wife takes great care of me. Okay? Back in the second grade, Denison Belcher, Roosevelt Elementary School. I don't know if my good friend, dear friend, HG, or some of his people will be looking at this later, but if y'all do, HG know give me another drink, know who I'm speaking of. His name was Richard Patterson, and he was going to whip my booty if I did not bring that boy some candy in the second grade. I brought that boy candy every day, okay? Now, let me tell you how I dealt with that. Like, maybe that had something to do with my the way that I was, years ago in dealing with adult people who are difficult for me to deal with. I brought him candy every day because I didn't want him to beat my butt because I was scared to stand up to him, okay? Until I told one of my other friends about it. My other friend, who was a year older than me, but he was a little bit of a badass, even as a kid, okay? He said, okay. So he went and took care of Richard. He told Richard, if you mess with this kid again, I'm going to whip your butt. Richard stopped messing with me, okay? Now, let me tell you how maybe the universe works or things or whatever. Some of you may have heard this story before, okay? Richard Patterson was a nephew to a woman who became my uncle's wife. So, Richard Patterson are kind of related, in-laws, outlaws, or whatever, through marriage. Also, believe it or not, I talked to one of Richard's uncles about 5 or 6 years ago. He told me that, guess what Richard does now? Richard Patterson, the one I'm speaking about, is a minister. He's a pastor. Sorry, honey, I was beating the table. See, nobody saw that, like two other good friends of ours did the other day when she was nudging her husband. Okay, Richard Patterson is a pastor right now, and pastors are supposed to love and get their acts together. Okay, Richard Patterson, if you're out there, if you ever hear this or anybody even tells you about this, brother, I thank you now, because that story right there was very embarrassing to me for a long time, because, again, I was scared to tell anyone that I did not speak up for myself. But today, again, it's not that I can whip everybody. Hell, that's why I still got some good friends. And if any, go ahead.
Go ahead. And for those that maybe are just chiming in, our topic is,
how do you deal with difficult people?
Now, I would like to say along those lines, probably to some people, I became difficult, especially within the last 2 years. Because in the last 2 years, February 18th, 2017, we lost our oldest 25-year young grandson to suicide. It was hard for me to even say that for a while. He died by suicide. And I don't know. I talked about this in my support group meeting last night, because I still go to support group dealing with my grief. I'm better than I was 2 years ago. But I probably became difficult because there were people that I thought would be there for me at the time of my loss. Because my husband would tell you, I've been there for just about everybody that I know.
Oh, yeah.
And
She
I
has.
tend to go overboard with my love for people and care, but then that tends to get me hurt when it's time for me to be shown that same compassion and care. Now, somebody one time told me, you don't measure what you do for others and what others do back to you. No, I don't measure it, but I'm only human, and I know what I do. And I guess maybe my expectations are too high expecting others because I have been there for so many people. I probably have read and comforted, I would say probably 100 plus people or more. I've written obituaries for people. I've read obituaries at their funerals, cards and condolences. I was called the Toledo obituary reader.
Well, you used to work in that field.
Yeah, because I used to work in that field at our local newspaper here in Toledo, Ohio. So I was very good at writing obituaries, and I never thought I would write my grandson's obituary. But anyway, I became probably difficult to some people because after I went through that and people showed their true colors at the time of a death, I changed up what I started doing for people. I didn't go out of my way anymore. So it probably came across to some in my life that Earlean, the Queen, has become difficult.
Well, it sounds like to me,
I speak up more for myself, whereas I didn't speak up for myself in the past. After my grandson passed away, it was like, I don't know, it changed me. I speak up more. I don't allow people to do anything to me and say anything to me. I had to put somebody in their place maybe about 6 weeks ago that just talked to me terrible over a Facebook post. And the Facebook post wasn't even about them. And so I had to let them know I would not allow you to disrespect me anymore. Absolutely. And I imagine I probably came across difficult. I'm probably coming across difficult to others only because I have started to put these difficult people in their places and their categories and letting them know I'm not the one that you will continue to treat me like that anymore.
you said a lot right there. You had my wheels going. One thing that you were doing in there, and this happens in relationships too, between partners, as my beautiful bride was speaking, I wanted to jump in there and save her, okay? I wanted to jump in there and fix her.
That's what men do. They put on their Mr. Fix-It hats. And sometimes a man will want to fix what a woman is saying. But a lot of times, I don't know about you other women out there, but when it comes to me, I don't want him to fix it. I just want him to listen to it.
And understand.
Yes.
But again, you got to wait a minute. You ain't got to do nothing, okay?
Feel free to chime in, you guys. We're waiting for you to chime in on this topic because if you don't chime in, then we're not going to learn from you guys. We're here to learn too. Go ahead, dear.
That's good. and this is really therapeutic for my beautiful
therapy.
bride and I.
Therapy.
Okay? And I know maybe some of you aren't chiming in because you guys are learning and listening too, which is fine, all right? Anywho, getting back to what my wife was saying right there again, how do you deal with difficult people? Again, it's up to you. It's up to you to take a look inside and say to yourself,
Hi, Maria.
I'm not going to allow someone else's garbage, call it what you want, to affect me in such a degree where I walk around feeling bad, feeling depressed, thinking something is wrong with me. More than likely, and again, only you know what your intentions are, more than likely, when you take the wall down and take a look inside reasonably, you'll find out that a lot of this stuff wasn't you. The person that you have difficulty with, in your heart of hearts, if you can say, haven't they always been that way?
Yeah, because some people have always been like that. And my husband have had to remind me that haven't they always acted like that? But I tend to give people a pass, especially family. I will give you a pass. But then sometimes even family can be difficult.
Oh,
I mean, these are just people that are labeled family,
Right.
but sometimes your friends can be closer to you than your family
Sure,
can
sure,
be.
sure, sure, sure. Oh,
And,
because and there's a reason for that. Because friends accept you right where you are.
And friends
okay?
don't normally want something from you, whereas sometimes family, there's a hook behind. 'Cause sometimes I get suspicious. If a family member says, just out the clear blue, Queen, I love you, or something, I'm like, what they want? What they want? And then another thing, and I had to learn this too, dear. My husband knows these stories.
Yeah, that's right.
But
this is good.
people will tend to come to you over and over again with the same problems as though you are a sounding board for their problems. Now, I don't have a problem with somebody discussing something with me, but you need to do something about it.
Well, it's how to discuss. Are they aggressive? Are they demeaning you? Or are they coming to you from a standpoint of, let's learn together, all right?
I hear you, Olivia.
Okay? Or are they coming from you as if they're on high and you're on low?
Yeah, because I had a
okay?
friend who would always come to me about the same problems over and over and over and over again, and never would do any. I would give all of these suggestions, my humble opinion on different things, and they would go back and do the same repetitive behavior, come back to me and tell me the same thing. I would give the same suggestions. It was like doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Is not going to work. Did I say that right?
All you do is insanity. Okay?
Yeah, it's not going to work.
It's
You
not
got
going
to
to
make
work.
a change. You just can't keep
absolutely.
talking about a situation
Absolutely.
and make it and bringing me down, listening to it. Because if a friend or a family is going through some kind of difficulty and I'm listening to that, it affects my spirit.
There's no
Because
question.
I want them to be doing better. I want to help them, and I try to suggest, but I never tell people, if it's a couple problem, if they're having problems in their relationship, marriage or relationship, I never suggest to no one to leave that person. How can I do that when I was with this man? I didn't leave him with all the things that I went through in our early marriage.
But
with
you were
addiction.
getting close.
I was getting close. Shit was packed in the
That's
basement.
what I'm talking about. See,
He didn't even know his shit was packed
that's
in the
not a true statement
basement.
too. Let me try. Let me try another.
Yes, Olivia. Definition of insanity. You right, baby.
Yes. Let me try another way, maybe to say the same thing that might reach some people. Okay. A guy is walking by a house. All right, and he walks by this house, and he sees a dog laying in the yard, and the dog is moaning and groaning. And he says to the people up on the porch, "Why is your dog moaning and groaning?" The people on the porch say, "Well, he's laying on a nail." And the guy says, "Well, why don't he get up?" And the people on the porch say, "Because it ain't hurting bad enough." What we are saying there is this here. When it's hurting bad enough, you're going to do something. When you're in an addiction and you're in pain, you'll run to your addiction. Okay? That's the way you're handling your addiction. You run back into the pain. Even though the pain is causing you misery, the pain is causing you hurt and discontent inside, you still run to that pain because, first of all, too, it's familiar.
Yeah, they don't have to be addiction as far as substance abuse or alcohol or gambling.
Absolutely.
It could be an addiction of just life struggles.
Sure.
You talk about the same thing. One time somebody told me, because I was telling them the same story too, back when I was telling them before I started learning and looking in the mirror, I had started to become addicted to my story.
That's a true statement.
I was telling the same story. I just found a different person to tell it to. I'd wear this person out, and I knew that I had wore them out, so I'd run over here and tell this person the same old story, and I kept running around. I had become addicted to my story without doing anything about it. Till one day, doing, it dawned on me, it's okay to talk about it, but you got to do something about it. The first step is recognizing that you got a problem. But then the second part is doing something about the problem that you have. And I oftentimes tell people, and I tell my husband too, I don't make mistakes in my life. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I made a mistake doing this, or I wish I would have done this different. And, some mistakes, I just don't call them mistakes. I call them learning learning experiences. But then sometimes you can make a learning experience, and that experience can become fatal. And that's the one that you don't want to happen, because when it came to my grandson, back to that, there were learning experiences, of course, after he passed away, but it's too late to fix and redo those learning experiences, except I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to have a learning experience even with his death by putting out a documentary about his life and death. This is my way of having an experience of learning.
And in the meantime, you might help others by showing them the experiences that you went through.
Yes, and not to do that. Yeah, and not to do that, hopefully, in their lives. Because when this documentary, matter of fact, and I know I'm off the subject right here, I got a call from a film festival a couple of days ago, and I submitted the film today.
Hey.
So I have my first film submission to a film festival, and hoping that they view it and will pick it up, and it ends up on HBO, Showtime, Netflix, PBS, suicide prevention groups. That's my goal. That's what I learned through my grandson's death and life, and in grieving him. I can't go back and repeat what I didn't do.
And what is his name? Tell us full name.
My grandson's name was, I like to say is because he's still with me.
No question.
Ajane, and we nicknamed him AJ. And he had another nickname as a baby, Fluky. Xavier Jamal Burt. He was my firstborn grandson, my son's son. He left here only at 25 years young. Life got too difficult for him. And he decided to make a change and go on the other side where his mother and our ancestors are. And I hope wherever he is, that he's at total peace and he's feeling love like he never felt on this planet.
Excellent point. Again, and this is something for some of you out there. For some of you, if this does not apply to you, don't worry about it, okay? Say your loved one's name as many times as you want, all right? Because that probably keeps that loved one alive in your heart. You'll never forget some things, okay? And some things cannot be changed by you. But it's okay. Now, we who are listening to people who are in grief or speaking about a loved one who has transitioned this side, one thing that I learned was you go by what the other person is leading you to. When my beautiful bride used to speak about AJ, especially when he had first passed, I got messed up. She would cry, she would feel bad, and she would talk about AJ. I would either just listen, sitting there saying, man, what's she doing? I could see her pain. I thought if I joined into her pain by speaking about AJ myself and my experiences with AJ, I thought it was adding to her pain or more misery, but that's what she needed. And I didn't understand that until I read a book, and she reminded me of that book this morning called The Unspeakable Loss. I think that's the word.
Yeah, Unspeakable Loss.
The Unspeakable Loss.
My condolences to you also, Olivia.
Oh.
And Maria, do something and moving on from it. Okay. Talking about difficult people. But my condolences to you also, because
it still hurts.
Death is something that we can't get over, and sometimes people can be very insensitive. They'll say the wrong thing at the wrong time to people because you don't know what to say and you think you're comforting, but sometimes just a hug works.
Or just keep it short and sweet. I am sorry for your loss. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, you don't go into a whole bunch of other stuff. God loved them more than you did, and they in a better place, and all this and that. Because the grieving do not want to hear that.
No.
Because in my estimation, when people would tell me that, I would be like, well, why didn't he take your grandson? Don't tell me about, he loved mine better. Why did he take yours?
Get it?
I didn't want to hear that.
Feelings and emotions don't want to hear facts. Feelings and emotions just are. They're neither good nor bad. They're feelings and emotions. And they're your feelings and emotions. And again, getting back on topic, how do you deal with difficult people? Because some of these difficult people are going to say things sometimes. Sorry, honey. I get a little emotional myself, okay? And I was moving the table, okay? Feelings and emotions can get out of hand, and feelings and emotions can drive your thinking, and they can drive your behavior, and you're liable to go to a place you really didn't want to go to.
Yeah, because all deaths are hard, and like you said, Olivia, still hurts, and it's been 19 years. I met a lady in my support group last night. It had been 25 years for her losing her child. So it all hurts, and it's something about a suicide death. This is my first one. I don't never want to go through this no more.
Right.
That's, for me, was a little bit difficult. I've lost my parents. I've lost my only sister. I've lost 2 brothers within 11 months of my grandson. None of those deaths hurt like that suicide death of my grandson because it was out of order. You're not supposed to bury grandchildren. You don't know what to say behind a suicide because apparently the person didn't love themselves enough to stay here, or I don't know the answer. Sometimes I try to come up with that answer. I don't even know if it's that. I just said that, but I don't even know if it's that. Because maybe he did love himself, but maybe he just couldn't deal with the difficulties and the struggles of life. So who am I to judge what anybody does? I met a young couple last night that just lost their 14-year-old baby to suicide. 14 to suicide just 3 months ago. So we living in a world today that there's so much unhappiness and people are struggling and don't know which way to turn and don't have tools. And if you add alcohol and drugs up in there, it's mind altering.
Sure.
And I mean, I've been at that door since my grandson passed. I've been at that door too.
Sure. Hopefully what you guys are understanding is there's help available.
Yes.
But you must avail yourself of the help. It takes a lot of courage to say, I cannot handle a certain situation. I need help. I'm thinking of a guy who came to my fellowship, and when he gave his therapy, he would give his name. He would say, I'm a compulsive gambler, and I need help. Even though it's been 32, 33 years since I placed my last bet, I still say it every once in a while myself, and I still need help. Now, recognizing you need help, that's part of the story. Second part, I think my beautiful bride is speaking on, you've got to go get the help. And then here's something, too. You've got to do something when you receive these tools to work with, because when you're dealing with difficult people, as we know our topic is today, if you don't get some help, you're going to try to resolve that issue using the same things you've always tried, and they don't work.
And it's not weakness.
No.
It's not weakness to go get help. It's
for
not
us,
weakness.
For us guys especially,
yes,
it is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Because, see, this is something else that I have learned, still learning, ing. The better I get for myself, the better I am for my beautiful bride, the better I am for my children, and the better I am for my grandchildren. But again, there's no guarantee that they're all going to come around to your way of doing or thinking things.
Yeah, because you can be the best parents on this side of the moon, and still your adult children will still do what they want to do, and they're allowed to do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't make you a bad parent because all the advice that you have given to your children, adult children, they didn't take. Hopefully, like my husband will tell me when it comes to my grandkids, I have 3 that are left on this earth, that I have planted seeds.
No question.
And sometimes I'm like, when the seeds go, I'm ready for the seeds to start growing. Well, the seeds ain't going to come up in my time.
Probably
They're
not.
going to come up. And they just don't get advice and learn from me. There's other people out there that they pick up goodness and what have you from. So, you know.
And they can pick up bad habits too.
Yeah,
all right?
yeah, but we hope that they pick up the good ones.
Sure we do.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, what we're saying again, when you start to understand yourself, because you're probably really the only one that really knows what's going on behind your eyeballs, okay? Other people can guess, and they may hit the nail on the head 3 times out of 10, but a lot of times they're 180 degrees out of phase. Why? I said, this might sound crazy, especially to guys. Well, why doesn't my wife do what I tell her to do? She's saying something to me and there's a problem there and I'm going to tell her how to resolve it, and she doesn't listen to my advice. Well, why doesn't she listen to your advice? Newsflash, because she's not you. She doesn't think like you think. She doesn't act like you act. She doesn't express things the way that you want her to express them. What do we put out? People don't want to hear your opinion.
They want to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want. We don't want to hear what people got to say. Say it like I say it.
There you go.
Do it like I do
See?
it. And what have you. So on that, you think we better probably shut down? We've been doing this about 40-something minutes. Time has flown.
Wow.
Wow, time has flown since we got started.
Right. And we surely do not want to make you folks think that because this is the way she and I are handling our business, it is exactly what you should do.
No.
No. You live in your house.
Right.
You live in your own shoes. And hopefully we have given you some pointers.
Yeah, because life isn't easy sometimes, but it's worth it.
Certainly.
It's
well,
not easy, but it's worth it.
Something again that I looked at, something my beautiful bride had on her daily calendar on how to deal with things. Life can be tough, and so am I, sometimes.
So on that note, I would like to also give another public service announcement. If you're not doing anything, June the 13th through the 15th, the Queen and the King will be in Las Vegas. I will be playing on stage with actress, comedian Monique, my surrogate universal daughter. That's June the 13th through June the 15th. That's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I would love for you guys to come to Las Vegas and show me some support. It's always nice to look out in that audience and see somebody you know.
Where will you be playing June 13th?
At the SLS Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it used to be called the Sahara Hotel, but I understand they changed the name a few years ago. So I love you too, Maria. You always chime in with us, girl. Yes.
She puts this in her act, but it's no act. She says, here this guy's a compulsive gambler. What the hell are we doing in Las Vegas? But he is a compulsive gambler who is in recovery,
yes,
who still goes to 1 or 2 meetings a week.
Yes, and I'm proud to say.
Absolutely. Because I tell you what, that Las Vegas, man, they got gambling. When you get off the plane in the airport, they got gambling.
Yes.
But see, gambling was never my problem per se. I was my problem. And as long as I respect the illness of compulsive gambling, continue to go to my meetings, stop placing bets. Getting back a little bit to that relative I was speaking about a little earlier. As much as I want him to go and seek help for his problem drinking, that's on him.
Yeah, because this relative, I think I put it on my Facebook page maybe last week. This relative that he's speaking of has had 2 strokes at the age of 38 years young, turned around, was that 6 years later at the age of 44, that was just last year, and had another stroke. So, but he says that he loves to drink. He's not going to stop. So it's just a matter of time. He might live to be 100 drinking. Who knows?
Sure.
But
see, my fear, again, because fear has to do with how you deal with difficult people. My fear was I would never say to him up until a year and 2 months ago, son, seems to me that you've got a drinking problem and you need to go get some help. AA is a wonderful place for you to go. Now again, but the point I'm making is I had the courage to finally say to him, I danced around that for years because I didn't want to think badly of my son. Getting back to why don't
so
we
now
deal
y'all
with,
know who the person is because we was trying to avoid saying who it was,
yeah.
but he put the
well,
cat
honestly,
out the bag.
well,
yeah.
if you know who I am, but that's okay. But again, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, all right? Because the fear always, you're airing dirty laundry in the family. But you know the person I really feel empathetic compassion for is my son's beautiful bride. Because she's the one that is putting up with behavior that is detrimental to their well-being. I would never tell her to leave him. I think my wife is speaking about that. How do you deal with difficult people? It's just easy. Do this, that, and whatever. No. That's a choice. That's a decision that she needs to make for herself.
She has to become sick and tired of being sick and tired. They've been married together, I know, at least probably 20 years. But until, a person gets sick and tired of being sick and tired, they just going to stay in that toxic.
But I suggested to her the same thing that I'm finding that works for me. Maybe it'll work for her. She must seek help on her own. But she must seek the help that says, I've got to look at myself. See, I only went to the companion group of Alcoholics Anonymous called Al-Anon to straighten my son out. Funny thing happened.
And I went to the Gamanon, which is a support group for the gamblers, to straighten him out. But then once he started sticking and staying and changing his life, he told me I didn't have to attend those meetings anymore because he was getting it. He was getting it. Hey, Ezra!
So, again,
hey, the topic is, Ezra, how do you deal with difficult people?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you deal with difficult people? That's the topic today. And we've been talking probably for about an hour, but it ain't been an hour yet. But when people come in, I like to keep going to let them know what we're talking about because I'm looking for some help even when it comes to us. We need help in dealing with difficult people because, like a lot of us, we have difficult people in our lives, whether it's family, friends, co-workers, acquaintances. I told my husband one time, I tell him this all the time, I don't want to meet no more people. I got enough people in my life, because probably half of them I done got rid of, because I can't deal with difficult people. You can't cuss at me and treat me bad and think I'm going to take it.
Not anymore, because you're
not anymore. I used to take that stuff. Hey, Auntie and Uncle, Ben's USA, I deal with them by not dealing with them.
See?
Yes, and I'm with you.
Okay.
I have pulled back on a lot of people lately, probably within the last 2 years. My friends list have gone down to almost nilch. Is that a word?
But, okay, how we want to say. That's something we said to each other last couple, 3 mornings. It's not that I want to dislike somebody who is difficult to me in my life. But what happens a lot of times is we have to justify our own feelings and emotions, okay? Anyone who knows me also knows that I had a fear of facing confrontations for a long time. Now, again, so therefore, I don't want to face them. I want to run away. You know what? It finally came through, because I'll be on the slow bus. The most difficult confrontation that I had to face was facing myself. Once I'm learning to deal with myself and all my shortcomings and learning to love myself, warts and all.
Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
I believe the children are our future. Treat them well and let them lead the way.
Anyway, Israel said, I have come to the point in my life where drama and difficult people are not on my roster.
Okay.
I am too old to have to deal with it. I'm with you, Israel.
Absolutely.
I'm too old because when you deal with difficult people, it affects your blood pressure.
We
And
spoke of that earlier.
for those that know, I'm a type 2 diabetic without meds because I try to exercise and watch what I eat. But difficult people could raise your blood pressure, which could affect my blood glucose, which will kill me, and they'll still be living. They didn't walked away and got you all upset about something, and they still living.
Since we're rolling a little bit here, a lot of ways you can say people like that are to you in your life. They're stress carriers. They're energy drainers. And here's another news flash. There are some people that you need to stay away from. And the other side of that is that some people that need to stay the hell away from you.
And like Whoopi Goldberg said, her mother told her years ago, this before her mother passed away, Karen, that's her real name, everybody on this earth is not going to like you. And you have to get used to that and deal with it and just keep on stepping. Because everybody ain't going to like you. All these difficult people aren't going to like you. And normally difficult people, they're difficult because I think they're lacking something in their lives.
Well, they're probably, it's no question.
They have some shortcomings, so they tend to lash out at you because they don't know how to deal with their lives and what they're going through. So they'll try to pour that junk down on you. No.
No. Right. And very seldom is that other person getting any help. Okay?
Normally they're
Again, one thing, and especially is big in our ethnic group, to ask for help is a weakness. And if you, my goodness, go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist,
yeah, you crazy.
Got to be nuts.
Yeah, you crazy.
Okay?
You crazy.
Let me say this to you. I had to go almost nuts before I came to my senses.
Oh, that's a good statement right there.
Well,
that's
thank
a good
you,
statement
honey.
right there. I like that.
That's a very nice thing
Yeah, because
for you to say.
it was probably, we probably been going to psychologists, psychiatrists for, probably, I would say within 6 years or 7 years of our marriage. After we got married, it's when we started going individually and together.
Yeah.
And I still go. I still go to deal with things.
Sure.
I went for my grief. I still go to deal with difficult people. I got to go talk to somebody about this. I don't hold things in because, like my husband said, in our ethnic background, we tended not to go see psychiatry. Well, number one, we didn't have insurance due to the discrimination and racism and different things in this country. We didn't have insurance, and we didn't have the good jobs that allotted us insurance to go see a psychologist because we surely couldn't afford it out of our pockets. What you saying, Israel? I am on the living smarter and not harder road of peace. People who are difficult haven't matured.
Okay.
Haven't matured yet. They are still searching for that one person who will allow them to treat people the way they want to treat them, knowing they would not want anyone to treat them that way. You're right. Until they come to a better understanding of consideration for others, I keep them out of my life. There you go, no matter the bloodline, neighbors, friends, and passerbys. I refuse to allow anyone to take up residence in my life if their presence bring about negativity. Yes, I think we're all getting to that point. The older that we get, Israel, I know that I am. I'm not doing it no more. If it doesn't bring me joy and happiness, I don't want it. I don't want it in my space. I don't.
To piggyback on something that Israel said, okay, a lot of times we as parents of adult children or adult grandchildren, when we're not getting along or whatever, we think it's always on us. But something she said there that I read one time that makes sense to me is this here. A lot of times our adult children or our adult grandchildren don't have the maturity to have a positive relationship with us. See, again, that child, if the way your life turned out, if that child has come up in your household, you think you're responsible and accountable for everything that child does. Well, when they're small, yes. But as they grow and they learn from so many different sources, a lot of us still think that we are responsible and accountable for our adult children's behavior and for what they say and do. Again, now you do anything you want. I'm learning that, no, we're not.
No.
No, we're not. And again, if something happens to my son because of his alcoholic behavior, will I cry? Absolutely. But I know I couldn't stop it because I tried. But I'll tell you what, if I didn't have the courage a year and 2 or 3 months ago to say to him, finally, after all those years, and he's 45 years old, after all those years, if I didn't have the courage to say to him, son, you need to seek some help.
Yeah, like
I would feel even worse if something happened to him.
Yeah, like Israel said, it's their generation, not you.
That's a good point.
Humbling oneself and allowing someone to help is the best form of friendship.
Wow.
So those are some good words there, and our time is coming to a close.
Yes.
Because we could probably go on and on and on and on and on about this topic.
Yes.
How do you deal with difficult people that's in your life?
Sure.
So I hope we have given y'all some good
Pointers.
You know,
something that may work for you.
Yes,
okay?
yes,
But again,
yes.
and if things that we have said in our time together, they don't apply to you and they don't work for you, please try something else.
Yeah.
A parent's love is forever. Okay? A parent's love is forever, despite our differences.
Yeah.
It'll be Mother's Day coming up next weekend. And
Yes, and Israel, I know you will be at the Apollo Theater watching Monique get on that stage and do her thing. So when you see her, you give her a big hug for me. And I also hope that you and Peaches will be able to come to Las Vegas. I keep hitting my husband with my crown. I hope y'all can come to Las Vegas June 13th through the 15th. So anyway, I keep it. Y'all see my crown. I like my little crown. Look at my little crown.
Also, again, and I know we've put out a few public service announcements, okay? Please.
Thank you.
I've lost a couple of GA members that let's just say, and again, I don't want to blame anybody for their condition. Please try your best to take better care of yourself. Go to your doctors. Go get the help you need. But it's up to you whether or not you will take a doctor's advice. It's up to you whether
because
or not
a doctor
you
can't make you do anything. They can tell you, you have diabetes. I was told I had diabetes. You have high blood pressure. You have this and you have that. But unless you take an active part in your health, because, you know, we all going to die. None of us is going to live forever. But what I want to do is have a quality of life while I'm here and not bring things on myself that I can work on and fix. So anyway, we're not going to keep going on because we need to close this out. Yeah. So always know.
We love ourselves and we love each and every one of you.
To life.
And always. Wait a minute, I do have to say one other thing here, okay? One of my dear friends, my brother from another mother, Ron, I won't give his last name, he lost his mother yesterday morning. She was 95 years old.
She lived a good, long life.
Yes, and maybe that makes it a little easier grieve than relieve, maybe, I don't know. But if any of you know who I'm speaking about, maybe you might just want to shout out to him and send positive vibes, pray if that's one of your things or whatever, okay? Because he is a real dear friend of mine, and I love him dearly, okay?
And on that note,
yes.
We're going.
Absolutely.
Hey, we love y'all again. To life.
And
Peace to you.
Be kind to each other out there, okay?
All righty, we're going.
All right, there. I'm out of here.